It's great to be here. Can we just give some love to Ellen and the squad that put this together? This is great. You did this. Proud of you. It's awesome. Anybody that knows me knows that this is not my comfort zone. I'm not here because I want to be. I'm here because I need to be, right? So I'm going to channel my best Obama for you. It's got a very specific Punahou way of speaking. Sorry. My brother's a stand-up comic. I'm trying to steal his thunder. So, clicker. Boom. Here we are. All right. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name's John. I'm your friendly neighborhood designer and impact founder. I spend a lot of time, here, I'm going to take a seat. I spend a lot of time trying to figure out sort of what keeps people up at night and using creative applications of frontier tech and old infrastructure to solve for those problems. So whether it's blockchain or big data or what have you. So these days I lead product design at a company called Self, where we are building an identity protocol that helps people prove who they are without giving up private information about themselves to developers or governments or banks or whatever is asking you for personal information. But our work kind of lives at this intersection of the real world and technology and fintech and any space that kind of overlaps with developing economies and things like that. So there's a lot of focus on human-centered design and kind of turning really complex problems into usable solutions for the real world. But before we dive in to the fog, I just want to get a super quick show of hands. It's nice for me to kind of know who I'm talking to. Do we have any developers or engineers in the room? Hey, what's good? All right. I know there's some policy folks here. Where are you guys at? Who's passing laws for me? Sweet, gotcha. All right, designers? Am I the only one? I'm alone? Solo? All right, okay, half, okay. That's great. So this is, whether you are an actor in the space or super interested in the space or just a complete neophyte, everything that we're going to walk through today is, you'll see these things through similar prisms as everyone else in the room here. But these things are going to start to become a lot more vibrant in the world moving forward. So let's jump into where we're headed next. The fog. What we came for. So the concept of the fog of war is really just this. It's a games theory kind of art of war concept where so you can't see everything that's in front of you, but the further you step forward, the more things are revealed to you along the way. And I think that that's how we should be designing for identity. I think apps should only be able to see what they need to see, and they should only be able to see it when they need to see it. Because the moment that you expose everything, you create an enormous attack surface, and that basically renders privacy meaningless, and security becomes just a gigantic space that can be exploited. So privacy, we should be thinking about it as a sort of necessary element of everything, and we have very little infrastructure to support this. The world that we're walking into is one where AI agents can literally spin up, loads of wallets and identities at scale, and one person can run, 1,000 wallets or bots, and hackers they don't just target systems, they're impersonating people with a high degree of fidelity. So the fog that I'm talking about is thickening. It's getting a lot more robust and sophisticated. And we don't have a whole lot of tools to solve this, so we're sort of blind in it, right? So where we go next, I should probably mention, the last time I gave a talk was a couple years ago, and it was a really pleasant, happy talk, right? There was a lot of roses and aspirational conversation going on, and but I told that audience that that I had prepared a Black Mirror version of that talk, and this is the one that you guys are getting. You're getting the Black Mirror talk. The world that we're stepping into right now is not just a space where like blockchain is in trouble or quantum computing is on the way, that kind of stuff. This applies to like every sort of facet of technology that we encounter and use on a daily basis. Social networks, bots are shaping discourse and spreading misinformation and eroding trust. Dating apps, similar problem. Impersonators aren't just wasting people's time, but they're also exploiting emotions and money and personal safety. So the proof of authenticity matters here as much as it matters in any online community, like gaming, for instance, is another pretty huge attack surface. The gaming industry is larger than Hollywood. Right? And in these spaces, bots are distorting the economies, they're breaking leaderboards, they're destabilizing communities, they're hacking onto Twitch streams, that kind of stuff. So gaming starts to become this arms race for scripts and bots and GPU power. Can you outmaneuver that as an average normal person? So the next generation of bots are going to be more persuasive, right? They're going to be more human-like, I guess you would say indistinguishable from people, to use the parlance of our time. But this is all like pretty scary stuff, I think. The agents are the next big wave, as we all know. They will be deploying contracts and trading tokens and writing posts and negotiating on our behalf using smart contracts and all that sort of stuff. This is already taking place. But without proof of humanity, we don't really have a way to distinguish a person from an autonomous swarm, or even who's responsible for that swarm. These are all loose ends that we have a lot of discussion that I think is necessary in order to solve for those problems at an infrastructure level. So these aren't isolated problems, you know. They're symptoms of a major root issue, and that issue is that we can't prove who's real online without giving too much information about ourselves. The threats are multiplying faster than our defenses, and as the AI starts to scale and sort of poke into the spaces where we least expect it to enter, a lot of trust in traditional systems is going to collapse. We've seen this happen before this can happen on paper, it can happen in a digital space. It's really just a matter of ideas and like what you hold to be safe and true and valuable. But if that is something that's vulnerable, then it's pretty easy to take it away. So we definitely need to start to rethink how we design trust and safety and protect things like personhood so that we don't end up with a robot overlords. In the Black Mirror kind of way. So we looked at the fog, and the uncertainty and the threats and everything. Let's talk about how we cut through the fog of war and explore kind of what some of the solutions might look like. The blockchain space has done a great job at sort of minimizing data. But the design challenge and the ultimate sort of utility comes from minimizing confusion, right? Like as an end user, I'm sure there's many of you that have maybe just recently entered the space or have been longtime users in the blockchain universe and have had definitely some stumbling blocks, and the learning curve is pretty steep. And that is, I think, a design problem. In a lot of cases, there's engineers building for engineers and things become very unusable. When it comes to safety and trust, those things are completely obfuscated, and you do your own research doesn't necessarily solve the problems that users need it to. So I find this to be like a design problem, and I think like minimizing confusion is the goal, and the approach really, I think, has to come from human-centered design overall, which in this case means designing for provenance, which I'm certain was a topic earlier that came up several times in some other talks. But what this means is revealing sources of intent and directly displaying it to a user in a format that's human-friendly, right? Not huge wall of text in a terms of service document that nobody's ever going to read, and allow users to interact with that intent so that they can either protect themselves or turn away from it. Browsers should be doing this. Banks should be doing this. I mean, there's probably a giant data breach every couple weeks from a Fortune 500 company. So when you give up your private information to Bank of America or an airline or something like that, and their entire database is breached, every single user is at risk there. And where that data goes and how it gets used in the future is a whole nother talk that we don't really need to get into right now. But the users need to understand who's asking for their information. They need to know what information is being asked for, and they, most importantly, need to know why, right? Like when you click the terms of service on any app, like it's really looking out for that company. It doesn't necessarily have your best interests in mind, and I think we should be flipping that on its head. And blockchain definitely has the underlying technology to make that work. So at Self, we are sort of approaching this problem set by leveraging zero-knowledge proofs. What this means is we're using zero-knowledge proofs are essentially an auditable, self-custodial proof of humanity that's tied to who you are and some credentials that have been issued by a trusted party. So that might be the United States government gives you a passport. Okay, great. You have a social security card. Cool, cool, cool. Great. We link that to your identity, and you're able to carry that along with you across chains, in the real world, however you want, in the same way that you might use your driver's license to check into a flight or something like that. The key here, though, what ZK gives us is it enables users to have selective disclosure of their information. So instead of sharing everything, they only need to prove that a fact is true or not, right? So for instance, a developer like Google Cloud wants to know that a developer is not from a sanctioned country or is a verified user of some sort, and they're allowed to deploy agents on the cloud. Google will go ahead and generate a proof request using Self, and on the user side, they'll take a look at that proof request and then actually engage with it by saying, yes, all these things are true. This information doesn't get shared with Google. They just get to find out whether or not these things are true. Is this person over 18? Are they from Syria or something like that? And all this information lives in a, I guess what you would call a unique session, unique to that user and unique to that proof request, and can have wallets attached to it, right? So this is something that our partners at Aave are doing. If you can prove that you're human, then they will boost your rewards on their borrowing and lending platform, which is a pretty standard use case, I think, for most of like Web3 and DeFi and that sort of stuff. But the Google Cloud situation, I think, is a real-world scenario problem that they're trying to get ahead of. And I think we should be paying really close attention to how some of these larger companies are navigating new policy, especially in Europe, where they're passing laws maybe decades in advance before the United States will catch up, including their social networks and other things like that. So these things are going to start popping up a little bit more frequently in different parts of the world, but the underlying concepts beneath this are going to become the standard for how we prove credentials and pieces of information about ourselves online. The design principles here are really simple. Like we're not inventing too much that's new, but the underlying tech underneath this is surfacing the right information at the right time for the right people. So everything's readable by humans. It's all very auditable, right? Like our project is almost entirely open source. The transparency that we're offering to end users and to developers is there's some parity on both sides. where you own the log of all of your proofs and your requests and everything that you've done based on whichever ID you might be using or whichever piece of biometric data you want to share. The developer on the other side can never see any of this information, which renders a network-wide breach impossible. And I think that this is one of those spaces where you can kind of do almost anything with. There's a lot of hackathons and conferences right now all over the globe focused on Web3 and blockchain, where privacy is starting to become one of the pillar conversations in those spaces. But I'm super excited to sort of bring this to you guys because I think this is something we should be thinking about all the time, especially if you're a builder or if you are moving money around in the space at all. Privacy is a major concern. But the fog is not something that we need to be afraid of. I think it's just really it's a sticky problem to navigate. And I think it's just sort of up to us to be thoughtful about how we navigate that space and also just kind of be thoughtful about the tools that we build and make sure that we're empowering people with the technology and not creating roadblocks that are unnecessary or leave gaping holes in a space that will leave them vulnerable in some way. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it was illuminating, and also want to mention that no AI agents were harmed in the making of this talk, just in case they're listening. Thank you.